Thank you for coming today. Welcome, everyone. Today's meeting is being recorded and will be placed on the website later for those who aren't able to make it. So I am going to share my screen. So as you know, your attendance here today is because your LEA has been identified for monitoring for fiscal year 2023. So today, that's not doing what it's supposed to. There we go. The first thing we're going to do is spend a few minutes talking about the risk assessment. So this was, how was your LEA identified? In the letter that you received on February 13th, it did give you your exact reasons, but we'll talk a little bit more about how that decision was made. We'll look at some timelines and important dates for the monitoring process and what the whole cycle looks like. We'll talk about some logistics and document submission details. There's some tips and tricks in there. And then we'll share some resources, including who your LEA contact is here at OSSI through this whole FY23 monitoring process and the overall OSSI monitoring box. So while I'm presenting, I cannot see if you raise your hand, so please feel free to come off at any time and ask a question. So the first question that most folks had was, why did I get identified? So 11 LEAs are identified this year. Of those 11 LEAs, 8 of them are from number 1. So there were 2 ways that folks got identified. The first one, which 8 LEAs were identified for, lapsed ESSER 2 funds. So as you can see, if someone lapsed ESSER 2 funds, they automatically were selected. Then we took everyone who had lapsed ESSER 2 funds and looked at whether or not they had been monitored in the last 5 years. And if they had not been monitored in those 5 years, there was 5 criteria that we looked at. And an LEA had to have met 2 of those criteria. So what are those 5 criteria? The first thing I'll tell you is the criteria are determined by research and by former experience in this process. And so all of that was explained in your letter, but they are putting, submitting your 75% or more of your reimbursements in the last quarter of the year. That was one criteria that you could or could not have met. Number 2 was if you have a designated school in your LEA. So that's a yes or a no for most folks. Number 3, have you been open for less than 5 years? That was number 3. Number 4, and I just lost my, there we go. Number 4, you are one of the highest grants, so you have expenditures in the top 75th percentile for FY23. And the last one, so this is where experience came in, if in the past year you had demonstrated any issues with reporting timeliness and or application quality across more than one of your grants. So I'm going to pause there and get us back over here and just take a moment to see if there are any questions about the identification process. I remember when I was a teacher, wait time was always the hardest thing, especially when you can't see anyone's face. Okay, I'm going to keep going and hope that someone interrupts if they have a question. So, as soon as I'm back on it, it's not moving. There we go. So here is the timeline. The whole entire process, as you can see, takes about 6 months. So we started in February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, was when you received your notification letting you know that you were going to be monitored this year. And as you can see it play out here, it begins with notification and we begin collecting evidence from you. Then we potentially ask for some interviews, discuss that evidence and ask for more if we need it. And then we move to the reports, where we give you a preliminary report with an opportunity to respond it, and then OSSI issues those final reports in July. As you can see from our little yellow, we are here. We are still at the very beginning. You are just notified. You still, we're going to see on the next slide, have some time to get to this deadline to upload mandatory evidence. I'll pause for a second so everyone can just take a quick look at that and make sure. And again, this PowerPoint and the recording of this presentation will be online, hopefully is within the next week. Okay, so more specifically, and I think you're seeing my screen, so let me move this. These are the exact deadlines. Today, as you can see, February 28th, we're doing our monitoring webinar. All of your initial evidence, as was stated in the email letter that you received on the 14th, is due on March 27th. After that, we saw those dates happening in April about interviews. April 3rd will begin those interviews for those who need them. April 26th will be your additional evidence, and June 13th will be your responses to the preliminary report. Obviously, these are only the LEA deadlines, so these are the things that you're responsible for, your team. You should have these in the letter, and these will be posted as well. Okay, so this slide has way too much language on it, but all very, very important. So logistics and documentation, as many of you know and or have experienced already, we use Box in order to communicate with lots of documents. So instead of emailing things back and forth, you will upload documents into your Box folder. If you do not have access to Box, there are some directions here that your team needs to take relatively quickly to get access to Box. So I skipped right over the first thing. Make sure your LEA has your point of contact. I'm sorry, make sure your monitoring lead has your point of contact. So for my leads, I say make sure you have the LEA point of contact. I think we have most of those because that's why you're here today. We contacted you to let you know, and you are the folks who've showed up for this webinar, meaning you're the points of contact. So then we go to receiving Box access. Anyone in one or more of the following roles, right? So head of school, LEA data manager, or LEA finance and grants manager is able to have access to Box. Anyone with a data manager designation can assign the rest of their colleagues. So that's just to let you know, give you an indication of how that process works. If you are having trouble with Box, let your lead know, and I'm going to show you who your leads are in a minute. You probably know from your emails, but we're going to talk about it. Let your lead know, and we can provide support and guidance as needed around Box. When it's time to upload your documents, make sure you're uploading them in the correct box. Oh, apologies. So I tried to move this around. Each LEA has two folders in the box. One is for the documents that we, OSSI, are giving to you, and the other is for the documents that you, the LEA, are providing to OSSI, which means all evidence and data that you provide to us is going in the folder for LEAs to provide to OSSI. So just make sure that you notice there are two folders and what the difference between them are. Within your Box folder, set up one folder for each grant that was selected for monitoring. So for some of you, that will only be one. Some of you are only being monitored in ESSER Fiscal. For some of you, that'll be 3 or 4 or 5 grants. Finally, the naming convention. In order to keep this clean and simple and transparent, please use the naming convention you see here, which is the indicator number you're responding to and the name of the file. Please think about how much information you need in there and try to keep your file name to under 100 characters. It causes a lot of problem when it's really long titles. It causes problems saving and transferring and pulling up on systems. And so that is a new ask this year to try to keep our file name shorter. So again, I'm going to stop and pause for a moment. My consistent feedback is I talk very quickly, so I'm trying to slow down and see if anyone has any questions. I think most of this is standard information. Okay. So next, here is the exciting part that your connection here at Aussie. So DCPS and Eagle Academy PCS, your point of contact at Aussie is Renew Oliver. You have probably already heard from her, but if you haven't, please be looking out for a new email from her coming out this week. For Creative Minds, Bakari Cyber is your lead and will be reaching out to you. For Achievement Prep PCS, Breakthrough Montessori, Hope Community, and St. Coletta, you'll be working with Danielle Rollins. For Capital Village, Learn DC, and Monument Academy, you'll be working with Dr. Valerie Brown. And for Basis PCS, you'll be working with Michelle Lubin. As you see on this slide, all requests can be submitted to the general Aussie monitoring at dc.gov. The leads see that as well as the directors. So that gives us all a chance to be on the same page as we're responding. And then the annual grants monitoring website, which again, you will get this. We can send you this PowerPoint so that way you can get to that link before it's up. It is just the website that has existed here at Aussie, and we've added FY23 and this PowerPoint, and these documents will all be up there as well. This recording will be up there as well. So that is all of the important information for today. It was really fast, but we don't want to overwhelm. It was just important to make sure everyone understood why you were selected and what our timeline looks like and next steps. So next steps, our LEAs should be getting their evidence together and submitting that by March 27th, which is a month from yesterday. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to any questions. And if you don't have any questions, I will give you back a fair amount of time in your day. Oh, Laura, please ask your question.
Hi, thank you. My question is if we turn items in prior to the deadline, can it speed up the process, or will it take the full amount of time based on the timeline?
So I think it depends. We can't guarantee that it will speed up the process. We always encourage individuals to turn things in earlier because we can obviously try to work them earlier. I think it depends on how much and what they are and who the staff are that are assigned. But I would absolutely encourage individuals to submit as soon as you have your evidence, because staff will look at it and be able to start engaging with you much earlier.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Laura. I think you are all old pros at this.
All right, I'm going to jump in again since nobody else is. So I've done fiscal monitoring in other states. I haven't done it with Aussie yet. And I haven't looked at the materials yet that you guys are providing. I do have access to Box. I did figure that out, thankfully. But will it be written somewhere, or we'll have guidance on what evidence you're looking for specifically? And then is the communication going to be through Box, or is it going to be through email? How does that work?
So Laura, you are Basis, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so you will work directly with your lead, who I believe is Michelle. Let me just double check because we just.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So she will communicate with you via email in terms of reminders and documents and things like that. When she is giving you like returning a document or something of the sort, she will place it in Box, but she will send you an email to let you know it's there. So for example, some LEAs got fiscal sample templates. So they got what the template for the fiscal sample looks like. And those were only for LEAs that are being monitored, that are have a fiscal monitoring. Only ESSER and IDA are being fiscally monitored this year. So not everybody has a fiscal monitoring occurring. But for those that did, a sample fiscal template was placed in their box, and then their lead, which in your case, Laura, would be Michelle, sent an email to say, hey, we uploaded the template in the box. So now you know it's there.
Right, thank you.
Hi, Danielle. This is Lily.
Hi, Lily.
Quick question. For those with programmatic, is there anything that we should also be expecting? Any additional templates in the same way as the fiscal, or we just upload the data?
So I believe that when you received your letter, you should have received your evidence and indicators list that told you what they were looking for. It should have been attached to your letter.
We did. Yes, we did.
Okay, so that is your sample of what it is that you are required to submit. Does that make sense?
So we shouldn't, yeah, so we shouldn't be expecting anything else. We could get started with that and just start uploading.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
The next thing you receive will be an email that says, hey, the process has started. You know, if you have questions, here's who I am, that kind of thing. And then you'll receive reminders until they start scheduling interviews and getting your data.
Perfect. Thank you. We did receive the programmatic. Danielle has been fantastic.
She is
She's
excellent.
awesome.
Yes. All of your leads are excellent.
Yes. Well, sorry, I could only speak for Danielle right now, but I'm sure of that. But we did receive the programmatic list. It was a large amount of PDFs that we have to go through each indicator. And then we also received the fiscal template. So I think we have both pieces.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that we could get started and there are no other, pieces that we should be expecting. But yes, she did forward everything we needed.
Yes, you are correct. You can get started. That means your LEA is being monitored both programmatically and fiscally. That is not the case for everyone. You will not be monitored fiscally on all of your grants, only on ESSER or IDA and or IDEA. So you may have other grants as well, but they won't be fiscally monitored. They'll be programmatically monitored.
All right. Thank you so much, Danny.
Absolutely. I think I answered Heidi's question about are any of these schools being monitored both fiscally and programmatically. So, there are a few that are both. I will stay on the whole time for questions. And again, it will be recorded. So if you don't have any questions, you can feel free to jump off and check back later if there were questions. You're also welcome to stay on and listen. I will keep it open for as long as folks are here. All right, we're down to just Aussie staff, so I think we can end.
I think you can.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a wonderful
Thanks, Danielle.
afternoon, guys.
Thanks, Danielle. Asa was excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. I was a little nervous, and it's so hard when nobody has their camera on and you're just looking at all these circles and talking to
Yeah.
you. Oh, I'm still recording. I should probably stop. Okay.
Nice job. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.